On the discussion in regards to censorship, there's another aspect to it I'd actually like to discuss, and that is denial of facts. One of the reasons why people love to censor is because they can deny facts that go against their narrative. And oftentimes, these dishonest people will sit there and say, "Oh, we're not censoring facts, we're censoring disinformation." The funny thing is, a lot of the stuff they've called disinformation, came out and turned out to be true. And the fact of the matter is, if it was simple disinformation, you could, if you know what you're talking about, try to take that apart. You know, there are ways to deal with actual disinformation that don't involve dishonesty or censorship, but yet these people won't do it. And generally, you will notice that this sort of stuff tends to go more hand in hand with the more authoritarian crowd than it does the libertarian crowd. So, with that being said, I give a prime example. This is a debate I've been in for quite some time. It's probably, the debate I have the most knowledge about. And this is the debate over gun control, gun rights, so on and so forth. You'll notice that there are a few different factions in this, actually. A lot of people just simply will narrow it down, say pro gun control. A little bit more overcomplicated than that. You have your people who are only pro gun control because they don't know and they haven't really looked into the situation. That part's true. That's actually 90% of the people who sit there and say, I think the gun law should be more stricter. Then you have that 10% of them that are just outright gun controllers. That's who I'm usually talking about when I talk about gun controllers. That's usually who I have my contempt about, because these people are very dishonest. They're censorious. They're oftentimes control freaks. Now, on the pro 2A side, which is where I fall, you have your 2A advocates such as me. Then you have your more pro-gun people. Now, oftentimes we get confused for one another. The big difference being is that pro-gun people are generally doing this more on the idea that they believe that, if somebody has a gun, that they are going to, in fact, save themselves and everyone else. And generally, those pro-gun people also tend to believe that, if we have a prohibition on bad guys having guns, then that's fine. But further than that, everyone else should have their gun rights. Pro-gun people tend to be more likely to support gun control and generally don't look at this as a freedom thing quite so much. They're the type of people who might mandate firearm ownership or support another gun control law, whereas this pro 2A crowd, we're mainly centered around the fact that this is a basic right. We're pro the freedom aspect of it. We do understand that while, people can do bad things with guns, restricting them isn't the answer. Restricting people from owning guns isn't the answer. We've tried that before. It hasn't really worked out, and all we've done is just infringe on freedoms. It is possible to use a firearm to protect yourself and your family and your loved ones. A lot of us kind of steer away from being dishonest. And you can tell that with the way somebody argues. So on that note, I'll give you an example again. One of the videos I've had that has the most views on it, I did somewhat recently. It was loaded guns pointed at penis. is this would be a genuine concern that people would have, and gun controllers have tried to use this as ammunition against gun rights, some of them. But then you have those of us in the pro 2A community that have come out and spoken out against what they're doing. With the loaded guns pointed at their penis, we've said, no, this is stupid. We understand this exists. The solution's not gun control. The solution is pulling these assholes aside and saying, hey, look, you're being a fucking retard here. But in a good faith discussion, you wouldn't try to deny that exists, or, you wouldn't try to sweep that under the rug. With gun controllers, on the other hand, oftentimes they are trying to deny situations that go against their narrative exist, or they try to sweep it under the rug, or they try to sidetrack the issue. One incident that comes to my mind was the Weiss settlement incident, which was one of those things that really blew a lot of what the gun controller said out of the water. Basically, you had a church, the parishioners were lawfully armed, and you had somebody who attempted a mass shooting there. He got stopped by one of the parishioners who had a firearm, and several other parishioners drew their firearms and went to try to back him up. They were able to assess the situation. They weren't shooting each other. They actually put a stop to that mass shooting before it became a mass shooting, so to speak. But you had people like Michael Bloomberg saying, well, what was the guy doing with a gun to begin with? You could tell Michael Bloomberg was fucking upset that, an armed citizen stopped this particular mass shooting from becoming a mass shooting versus, him not having a gun, and then Michael Bloomberg getting a mass shooting saying, oh, well, this is why we need more gun control. Mike Bloomberg was more upset that the armed citizen actually stopped it. He couldn't just say, you know what, you're right. In this particular case, an armed citizen did stop a mass killing, and, we're not opposed to that. We're just opposed to, bad guys having firearms, or we're opposed to that mentally unstable person having a firearm. He couldn't just simply say that. He had to say, well, what were they doing with guns in church anyway? Furthermore, every time it gets brought up that in each and every one of these cases where there is a mass killing that goes on, it usually tends to be in a gun-free zone, with only a handful of exceptions. Now, again, instead of the gun controller saying, you know what, maybe you're right, maybe we should do more than just say no guns allowed here, maybe we should have some sort of enforcement, some sort of serious enforcement of these gun-free zones. Maybe simply saying no guns is not sufficient. They instead go off and say, well, we don't want our children to feel like they're going to prison, or something of that nature. And people shouldn't have guns in those places anyway. That's all they can fucking say. And then they want to sit there and deny that defensive gun uses actually occur. So, yeah, you can see on one hand the authoritarians pushing censorship, pushing denial of facts, and being outright petulant. They don't want to actually show you what the other side says. Whereas if you look at a lot of the pro 2A people, you actually look at what the opposition says. We'll show you the whole article. We'll show you the whole video of what they said. We have no problem, with that. We have no problem addressing specific concerns that people have. And therein lies the difference between somebody who believes in individual freedom and somebody who believes in them taking away everyone else's freedom, them running everyone else's life. So, I'm going to leave it at that, guys. As always, comment section is open. You guys take it easy out there and have a great day.